equation, and then we derived some of the like inhomogeneous initial value problems also we have seen. Inhomogeneous initial value problems also we have seen, and then we have basically we have used this one like mod y square by s square dy ds equal to 4. Okay, and then from that we derived u of x comma t equal to integral u of y comma s modulus of x minus y whole square by s square dy ds. So now we are going to use this theorem to prove the maximum principle. Okay, so that's the idea, and today we'll complete the heat equation completely, and then we'll go for the next one like nonlinear PDE in the next class. Okay, so we have seen already the strong maximum principle in Laplace equation, where we have said the same thing like maximum is attained at omega. So where we have proved something like maximum over omega bar. Okay, maximum over omega bar of u is same as maximum over u at dou omega. Means that maximum is attained at the omega bar is same as maximum attained at the omega dou omega. Means that the boundary because. Now here we are not going to say omega bar, but we are going to say like we are going to say omega t here. Okay? This is omega t here, and then we have something like gamma t. So there it is going to apply. So that is the theorem we are going to do. So again, the same kind of assumptions we are going to make. Okay. So we have the statement of the theorem is like suppose u belongs to c1 square omega t. Okay, c1 square omega t intersection c of omega t bar. Okay, so E is belongs to c1 square omega t and intersection c of omega t, and that solves the heat equation in omega t. Then what we are saying is that instead of here we had in the earlier one we had omega. So here in heat equation it is going to become like omega t bar. Okay, equal to same as maximum of gamma t. Gamma t is nothing but the boundary. Okay, boundary in the r plus n plus 1 r of n plus 1. So this is the one which we are going to prove. Okay, and then further we are going to say if omega is connected. Okay, if omega is connected and there exists a point, then there exists a point x naught comma t naught in omega t such that that at that point, okay, u of x naught comma t naught is going to be, so that point omega there exists a point x naught comma t naught. So u of x naught comma t naught is going to become like maximum of omega t bar. Okay, omega t bar of u. Okay, so if that is there, okay, it is going to say like if omega is connected, then there exists a point u of x naught comma t naught such that maximum of omega t bar u is going to exist. Okay, if such point is existing, then what we are going to say is that we are going to say that u is constant. So there are two parts are there. First we got to prove that this one, then second we got to prove this one. So let us prove this one. Then u is constant in omega t bar. Okay, omega t naught bar. So let's prove this one. Okay, so first I'm just going to take m equal to maximum of omega t bar. Okay, m I am just defining maximum of omega t bar. Suppose there is a point. Okay, suppose there is a point x naught comma t naught in omega t. Okay, with u of x naught comma t naught equal to m. Suppose there is a point x naught comma t naught. Okay, inside it here. So I have omega t. Suppose this is the one. I have a point x naught comma t naught. Okay. In that, what we are trying to do is that suppose at some points we have that one. Okay, then what we get. Then what it is going to say is that there exists a small r. Okay, sufficiently small r such that the heat bar. Okay, so in the case of Laplace equation, we had a ball. Okay, or a sphere. Exactly ball only. So in the case of heat equation, it is going to become like a big heat ball. Okay, the heat ball is going to exist. Okay, there is a and for sufficiently small r greater than 0, there is a heat ball around this point. Yeah, that's not t naught. Okay, that's a heat ball. Okay, which is going to be contained in omega t. So that means I'm going to get a ball. Okay, this is going to become like E. okay, E of R or E of x naught comma t naught comma R, I say, okay, it is completely contained in omega t. Then for this E of x naught comma t naught comma R, I can apply the mean value property. So if I apply the mean value property, what is it going to become? This is going to become m equal to, okay, m is already said that it is equal to E of x naught comma t naught comma R is there, okay, E of x naught comma t naught. So that is, I'm just going to apply that, okay, for the heat bar. So that is going to become like here 1 by 4 r power n is there, okay. So 1 by 4 power r power n integral, okay, U of y comma s x naught minus y naught y, okay, whole square divided by s square dy dx. Okay, so here it is t naught is there, therefore sorry, here also t minus s is there, t naught minus s square, okay, t naught minus s square. So here then what we have is that we have okay, so this is going to attain because your m equal to maximum omega t bar, and m it is said that it is going to attain like suppose there is x naught comma t naught such that this is going to be there. Then we have this one. Now what we have is that we have 1 by 4 power r 1 by 4 r power n. Okay, so this one we have y comma s. We know this one. If I just remove this one, okay, u of y comma s, because here we know u y square s square dy ds equal to 4. Therefore, if I put 1 by 4 here, this is going to become like 1. Okay, the same thing over here. So if I just substitute it over here, what is it going to become? This is going to become like the 1 by 4 r power n, except this v of y comma s. If I remove, that is going to become like 1. So therefore, what I'm going to get, I'm just going to take u of this is going to become like, I'm just going to take the u of y comma s almost outside. Then this is going to become like just u of x naught comma t naught. Okay, this is going to become like u of x naught comma t naught. Okay, so let's come to that. This is going to become m equal to u of x naught comma t naught is there. Okay, so this is already 1. Okay, this is already 1. We have that u of x naught comma t naught, that is nothing but the maximum of omega t. Therefore, this quantity is going to be bigger than whatever I have here. Okay, suppose some point I'm just picking. Okay, some arbitrary point if I'm just picking, then what it is going to become? This is going to become like I'm just choosing some points over here. So this is going to be less than or equal to v of y comma s is going to be there. Okay, but that is nothing but, okay, if I just take that one, this is going to be less than or equal to f, because I just take some arbitrary point over here. That is going to be less than. That's what you got, m less than or equal to n. Okay, that means what it is saying is that m is less than or equal to m. Okay, but that is not like strictly less than is not possible. Okay, because m is the less than or equal to m sir. Therefore, m is this is only in the place e of x naught comma t naught comma r only in this place. So m is less than or equal to m e of x naught comma t naught comma r. That means what? M is identically equal, because less than will not happen, only equality is correct, because both sides are having same quantity. So in that case, what we have is that m is identically equal to m. Sorry, u is identically equal to m. So this is going to be, so m is equal to u of x naught comma t naught is less than or equal to m is going to come. Okay, therefore what it is going to come? Left side is m, right side is also m. Therefore u of x naught comma t naught should be equal to m. Okay, where only in this part only I'm saying. Okay, e of x naught comma t naught comma r only within that place only I'm going to say. Not for everywhere. I'm just going to say only in this place. So now what we have, that means what? M is already attained that. Okay, now what we have to prove? We have to what we get is that. So what does it mean is that m is nothing but, okay, so e of x naught comma t naught equal to m means what is it meaning? M is nothing but within x comma r. So that means it is going to say that m is nothing but u of y comma s. Okay, e of y comma s for all, because I have picked the x naught comma t naught arbitrarily. Okay, arbitrarily, and then I have obtained this point. So m is identically equal to m within r. Okay, within that, therefore m equal to y comma s for all y comma s. Okay, y comma s in this bar. That's the meaning of that. Okay, So m equal to u of y comma s for all y comma s e of x comma t. Okay. Now what we are going to use is that we are going to prove we are going to say, okay, suppose we take other places, okay, suppose we are taking some other places and then we are trying to connect this one, okay, and then we'll see like what is going to happen. Suppose there is a I'm just going to draw a line segment, okay, I'm going to draw a line segment. So this is my omega t. I'm going to draw a line segment, okay, draw a line segment L in omega t that is going to connect, okay, so this is going to connect my x naught comma t naught, okay, connecting x naught comma t naught with some other point, okay, suppose I take some other point, okay, y naught comma x naught, suppose this is my y naught comma x naught, I'm just connecting it, okay, using a line, so this is nothing but my line with s naught less than t naught, so these are the conditions given. Now what I'm going to take is that I'm going to take r naught equal to, okay, I'm just going to take r naught, a new value. R naught is nothing but minimum of s greater than or equal to s naught, okay, such that u of x comma t equal to m, okay, and for all x comma t in L and s is less than or equal to t, okay, s is less than or equal to t naught. Now we got to see whether this minimum is attained or not, okay, this minimum is attained or not. See, u of x comma t is continuous, okay, u of x comma t is continuous. Now L is a line segment only I am saying, so then is L compact? L is a line segment, okay, it is a bounded one, okay, it's a bounded set, so bounded and L is line segment, so therefore it is closed, okay, line segment, so this is closed, so closed and bounded set in R power n is compact.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so therefore what we are going to get, and this interval is also closed and bounded, okay, s less than or equal to t, less than or equal to t naught. Therefore that is also bounded and compact. Therefore what you are going to get is that you are going to get this one, so therefore this is going to attain minimum, okay, minimum and maximum both will be attained actually, okay, because you can just use the, if you go for the minimum principle, I am proving the maximum principle. If you go for the minimum principle, in that case you have to choose the same thing and then you have to take r naught equal to maximum and then you have to type it, okay. So now here I am just taking the minimum, so therefore this minimum is going to be attained because of the continuity property of u of x comma t. So it is closed and bounded, so if u is continuous, then for that you will get again compact set is going to be mapped to the compact set, okay, if it is u is continuous, therefore you are going to get maximum, minimum is attained, same way maximum also will be attained, so that will be helpful for proving the minimum principle, the same kind of argument. So now we are since r naught equal to minimum of s comma greater than or equal to s naught, what we are trying to prove here is that I am trying to prove that this r naught equal to s naught I am going to, okay, if I prove r naught equal to s naught, then what I can claim is that, okay, because where the problem is coming for us is that we have only one problem where we have to say like gamma t I have to obtain, okay, gamma t that I have to obtain, so only for that I am just trying to prove. If I prove r naught equal to s naught, then what I can immediately prove is that this r naught is becoming x naught, means this is going to be exactly attaining this omega t bar is going to come, okay, that's what I am trying to, okay, means it is going to become like a bounding point. Okay, so we are trying to prove that r naught equal to s naught, okay, that's our goal. Suppose r naught is greater than s naught, okay, what will happen? Suppose r naught is greater than s naught, okay, suppose r naught is greater than s naught, then what will happen? There will be a z naught in there will be a z naught comma r naught in z naught comma r naught in omega t, such that u of z naught comma r naught equal to m. Why is it so? Why is it so? use the same argument. Okay, R naught is greater than S naught. Okay, use the same argument. You define this. You have Z naught comma R naught. Okay, then again you can use the same kind of ball. You can take it. Okay, you have Z naught comma R naught comma R. Okay, and then you do the same kind of argument. What you will get is that you will get that you have M equal to same thing less than or equal to is going to come. Therefore, you are going to get you have Z naught comma R naught equal to. Okay, because here I got chosen this X naught comma T naught arbitrary, right? And then I got run the part. So instead of that, I'm just taking this Z naught comma R naught. Since R naught is greater than S naught, then this is going to attend. Okay. Okay. Now what we have? So for small r greater than 0, for r sufficiently small r greater than 0, what we are going to get is that the same kind of argument. Okay, m equal to y of s. So here we have said m equal to y of s within the ball also it is going to be attend the same. So in that case, what we are going to get is that we are going to get u is identically equal to m within this ball. Okay, so the same kind of argument if we give, this is going to become like u is identically equal to m within the ball of radius within this one. Okay, z naught comma r naught comma r. So that it is going to come. So u is going to become identically m. So same kind of argument whatever I have given here. Okay. So that means we are going to get a. So in both cases we are going to get some contradiction. So what is going to happen? So suppose another case. Suppose r naught is not equal to s naught. Okay, means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So in both cases, what you are going to get is that there will be a small sigma. Okay, there will be a small sigma such that I can take the intersection between. Okay, I can take the intersection between the line segment which I draw. Okay, and I take a line segment. Okay, and then I take a r naught minus sigma. Okay, r naught minus sigma less than or equal to t less than or equal to r naught. Okay. So if I take the line segment with this one, what I am going to get is that okay, this is going to be completely contained in this part. Completely contained in this part. That means what? That means you are going to get a contradiction. How? How you are going to get the contradiction? Any idea? Okay. See here, R naught is greater than S naught. Okay. Just think of it. What is it going to happen? R naught is less than greater than or equal to S naught. Okay. So M is we have already proved that E of x naught comma t naught is identically equal to this one. But here what we are trying to prove is that this is going to prove that this is going to happen only in that line segment which is completely contained in that. Okay, means it is going to claim that it is not going to happen outside that place. Okay, so therefore we are going to get the contradiction because earlier already you have proved that this is completely contained. E of x naught comma t naught comma r is completely identically within
Sir, sorry, sir. Sir, I could not see your board, sir. I could see this slides only.
Is it some problem?
Sir, actually, sir, how to get it on the main screen? Like I am getting
Is
it.
Is it
No,
visible
sir.
now?
If you are on the mobile, you can double
No, I am not on mobile. Actually, I am on laptop. That's why maybe it's problem is
in the
happening.
video. Video you can take.
Sir is showing on the right hand side. Sir is there, but I could not see him on the main screen. Like I am seeing the slides only. That's why I could not see the board. Maybe it's
Probably you can
too.
rejoin. Try to rejoin, then probably it will come.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Okay, so what? So therefore, that is going to give a contradiction to us. So that means what we have claimed is that we are claiming that R naught equal to S naught. Okay, so because R naught not equal to S naught is not going to happen, and R naught is less than R naught is greater than S naught is not going to happen. That's also giving the contradiction. Therefore, what we are going to get is that we are going to get that R naught equal to S naught is going to come, and U equal to M on L also. Okay, U equal to M and the entire L. Okay. Now what we are going to so that means what I have see what is the contradiction that you understand, because I was connecting what I connected is that I have taken E of x naught comma t naught comma r, okay, that I have taken, okay, that I have taken, but what I have taken x naught comma t naught I have taken, and then I connected some point y naught comma x naught outside, okay, that's what I have taken. See, y naught comma x naught I have taken some arbitrary point, some other point y naught comma x naught in omega t, okay, it can be inside or cannot be, it can be outside also, because I'm just taking some other point in omega t. But what it is saying always it is going to be like inside that, inside this C of x naught x naught. If I take the intersection of this L, this one, it is always going to say me that it is going to be within that E of x naught comma t naught comma. That is a contradiction, because my y naught comma s naught is arbitrary without given. So that is my contradiction. Therefore, your r naught should be equal to s. Okay, so that's the time we have to use. Okay, now what we have, therefore u equal to m on L also. U is going to be L on this one also. That's the only possibility is that u is going to be identically equal to m on L. Now we have one more thing. As I said, if omega is connected, then we have to prove this part. Okay, omega is connected. Suppose omega is connected, okay, and choose some x arbitrarily in omega at any time. Okay, any time 0 less than or equal to t less than theta. Okay, less than that. Then what we have is that you can just take a sequence of it, the same kind of argument, the line segment we have taken, right? The same kind of argument. What you do is you take x naught, x1, etc., x1. Okay, sequence of points you can take it such that these line segments, okay, these line segments in R power n connecting. So each one is whatever you are choosing, okay, that should be connected xi minus 1 comma 2 xi, okay, and that should be like within this omega. That should lie within omega. So that's the one I am just going to choose. And this statement is true. Okay, the above statement is true since the set of points. Okay, the set of points which can be connected to x naught by polygonal path is non-empty. Okay, it is going to be non-empty, and this is going to be open and relatively closed in omega. Okay, within omega, it is going to be relatively closed because I'm just connecting small line segments. So therefore, it is going to be. So that means you can just use the same principle whatever we have used, okay, repeatedly for times t naught, t1, etc. T, okay. Then what is going to happen in omega t bar, okay, in omega t bar or omega t, this is going to be lie within that omega t bar, x naught comma t naught, x1 comma t naught, x naught comma t naught, x1 comma t1, etc. up to x comma t is going to be lie within t. So you repeat the argument whatever we did in the earlier. I did only for one segment. Okay, L is one line segment I got taken. Okay, and then I got taken some point and then did that. Now repeat the same kind of argument. Then what it will become? So that is going to become like I'm just going to get for first line segment. Again, I'm going to get u is equal to m on, let's say L1. L1 is nothing but lines joining x naught comma t naught and x1 comma t. Then that is going to become like u equal to m. Now take this next one. Okay, again it is going to become. Now take the next one. Like this you can keep on doing. Then what you are going to get is that you are going to get the for this sequence. Okay, the entire such segment. What you are going to get? You are going to get u equal to m on m. Now it is given that u is connected. So if u is connected, if you take any 2 points in that, okay. So this is I have done. For first I have chosen arbitrary 2 points and then I have done. Now what I have did is I have taken some sequence of points and then that also I have done. Now if you take any 2 points in the set, okay, then automatically since it is connected, you can just connect them through some line segments. Therefore, what you are going to get? You are going to get u of x comma t equal to m for all x comma t in this one. Okay, omega t. Since it is going to be there, so you are going to get that both things. Okay, therefore u of x comma t equal to m everything. That's all, because we have chosen m equal to omega t bar, so that is okay. This is done. Okay, so you can prove a similar kind of things for minimum principle also. Okay, if so, what this theorem says to us is that if u attains a maximum or minimum at an interior point, then u is constant at all earlier times. Okay, u is constant at all earlier times. That's what it is claiming. Okay, u of x naught comma t naught equal to maximum of u omega t. Then u is constant at omega t naught, omega bar t naught. Okay, therefore it is going to say that it is constant at all earlier times. If it is constant, if it is maximum or interior at an interior point, then u is constant at earlier times. For example, let's say let's say t is equal to 1 is there. Okay, at t is equal to 1, what I have is I have something like omega t. Omega t is nothing but let's say capital T is equal to 1. Then omega 1 is nothing but the domain at the times 1. Okay, at time 1. So if I take any points, okay, for example, if I take t some t is equal to 0.8 or 0.9, then what is, suppose your u is attaining minimum or maximum at this omega 1, then what this theorem is saying is that your u is going to be constant at earlier places. It is going to be at t equal to 0.8 or 0.9, it is going to be constant at all earlier places. That's what it is claiming. So so that means it is going to say like the solution will be constant on time interval 0, t naught, provided the initial and boundary conditions are constant. Okay, so if it is constant, then it is going to claim that it is going to be completely constant in the time interval 0, t naught. But it may change. Okay, once the solution may change at times t greater than t naught. Okay, what is the condition required? You have to provide the boundary condition that alter after t naught. Okay, so you can just alter the boundary conditions after t naught. That is going to change that. Okay, it may change. So in other words, I can say that the solution will not respond to change in the boundary conditions until these changes happen. So the solution, so until almost this is same thing as you have seen in the Newton's first law. So Newton's first law, what we say, like unless otherwise some extra force is acting on the body, it is not going. It is going to be either in rest or in motion. So same kind of things here. We are going to say like it is not going to change. This solution will not respond to change at the boundary in boundary conditions until these changes will happen. Okay, this is not going to happen until some changes is going to happen. So until you add some extra heat over there in the boundary condition, the temperature whatever is there, it is going to be remaining the same. Okay, that's what it is going to be. So we can just okay, from this one we can claim one more thing. What we can claim is that suppose you have the strong maximum principle. Okay, omega is connected and u is in this one and satisfy this condition. Okay, and the boundary of dou omega cross 0, t, I have u equal to 0. Whereas at t equal to 0 and the int and the boundary what I am having is that I am having u equal to f where f is greater than or equal to 0. So according to this one, what it is going to say is that okay, if f is greater than or equal to 0, then what is it going to say? This theorem is saying is that m equal to maximum of omega t equal to maximum of u at gamma t. Now if u equal to f at omega cross t of 0, that means I'm just imposing some conditions, initial conditions at this place. Okay, then what it is going to say is that if f is somewhere positive in somewhere in omega, okay, then it is going to say that u is positive everywhere. U is going to be positive everywhere within omega t. Okay, because at t equal to 0 you are starting. So omega t is nothing but omega cross 0 comma t. Okay, therefore it is going to say that if f is greater than 0 somewhere in omega, then u is going to be positive everywhere within omega t. That's what it is going to be. Okay, because you are getting some positive values, you are putting some positive values inside the heat, then it is going to be distributed everywhere after. Okay, that's all. So this you can just experience once you are heating something in the cooker or milk cooker or something, the temperature will rise and that is going to be positive everywhere. Means suppose you say like the temperature is room temperature is nothing but your 0 temperature. Okay, then if you just distribute some heat over there at initial stage, that is going to be distributed everywhere. Okay, within that time short span of time is going to be positive everywhere within that interval. So it will be like maybe sometimes if you see the physical sense, you may not observe it quickly, but this is going to happen at all the times. You can just measure it very. If you have very minute sensor, then you can measure it like it is very fast. Okay. So using this one, what we can claim is that we can claim the next one, which is going to say like uniqueness on bounded domains. Suppose your domain is bounded, okay, or f belongs to C of omega gamma t and h belongs to C of omega t on a bounded domain, then what we are going to say is that there exists exactly one solution, okay, at most one solution of the initial and boundary value problem. So for this initial and boundary value problem, there is going to be exactly one solution. The proof is very simple as we do it in the Laplace equation equation. Suppose u1 and u2 are two solutions, okay, of the above initial and boundary value problem. Then what we can say, W is going to become like, I can just define W is equal to u1 minus u2, okay, W is equal to u1 minus u2, then W equal to 0, okay, because u1 is equal to b, u1 is also equal to f on gamma t and u2 is also equal to f on gamma t. Therefore, W equal to 0 on gamma t. But we have already claimed that m equal to maximum omega t bar equal to maximum of u at omega t, and also we have claimed that u of x naught comma t naught equal to maximum of u of omega t. Since this is 0 at the boundary, therefore what you are going to get, maximum itself is going to become like 0. Therefore, the entire thing is going to become like 0. Therefore, what you are going to get, u is going to become like u1, w is going to become like identically 0 inside the omega t also. Therefore, what you are going to get, you are going to get u1 equal to just one line proof. If you use the maximum principle. Almost same kind of thing. Okay, so this one maximum principle for the Cauchy problem. I'm just leaving it for you self-reading. Okay, I'm not going to give you the explain it over here. You can just refer this one, and then you can just read this through, and then you can complete it. And just a simple one only. Okay, so that's why I'm just giving it as a self-reading. So we have, so this is one problem also. Okay, which is given in the exercise, I think. So what we are okay, this one already we are supposed to say it in the previous one. I'm just giving it. Pi of x comma t is also heat equation. Okay, that you can just claim it and just finding pi t and pi xx. Then you can just do that self-reading. Okay, I'm just skipping it. Also, this theorem also I'm just leaving as a self-reading. So here what we are trying to do is that suppose u belongs to C1 square r of omega t. Okay, r n cross 0 comma t. That solves the initial and boundary value problem and satisfies the growth estimate. Okay, there is another condition. Then what it is going to say is that it is going to say same kind of thing. It is going to say like the supremum of so it is going to say, I think I don't know whether you are able to see the supremum denominator missing, at least I could not see. So in this theorem, so here we have proved the maximum. Okay, maximum u of x naught comma t naught equal to maximum of u we have proved. In this Cauchy problem, what we are going to prove is that supremum over u Rn cross 0 comma t is same as supremum over u of Rn at supremum over f at u. Okay, supremum over Rn at f. So whatever u is attaining the maximum, almost the same thing what we have claimed in that, like f is greater than or equal to 0 positive variable, then what it is going to become is going to be positive variable. So this is claiming in a different way. Like suppose this is the growth estimate also you find. Okay, what is the growth estimate it is going to obtain? Okay, if the growth estimate is less than or equal to some quantity, okay, a into e of ax square or some a, then you can claim that your supremum u is going to be same as what is the supremum you are obtaining for your the initial condition. Whatever the initial condition you are giving, that's the one supremum is going to obtain. Okay, it is not going to be more than that. Okay, whatever you give, it is going to obtain the maximum value. So that you can just feel it from the heating some cooker or something. Suppose you are giving some like 100 degrees Celsius to cooker, okay, and the milk is boiling or some material is boiling, then you can immediately see that whatever the supremum, depending on the material, okay, the supremum of whatever you are giving at the initial condition, the same thing is going to be attained. It is not going to reach the above that. So basically, it can just visualize that makes sense. Okay, I'm not going to give the proof, so you can just refer this one again. Okay, this is very simple one. Okay, now we'll come to the other one. Okay, this is again one more thing. Okay, so again the uniqueness for the boundary Cauchy problem also we have learned. So this is like maximum principle for the Cauchy problem. This is uniqueness for the Cauchy problem. Okay, now we'll come to the regularity. Okay, heat equation regularity. Here, what we are going to claim is that we are going to claim this one. So in the regularity in Laplace equation, we have claimed that it is a harmonic equation that we have claimed that it is going to even attain analyticity. So here it is in general it is not going to be analytic. Okay, for some problem it will be analytic, but in general it is not analytic. So we are going to say that at least if u belongs to C infinity of omega t. Okay, if u belongs to C1 square omega t solves the heat equation, then we are going to claim that u belongs to C infinity of omega t. That we are going to do. So here what we are going to do is that suppose we have something like I'm going to, so we have already seen the parabolic cylinder. For this problem we are going to take a circular cylinder. So the closed circular cylinder is nothing but a same kind of thing. Okay, here we are taking C of x comma t. In parabolic cylinder we have taken something some arbitrary domain under this one. In circular cylinder we are going to take your x minus y. Okay, x minus y less than or equal to t. Okay, so less than or equal to r. So that means this is going to be a circular. So therefore, once you rise the height like s is nothing but t minus r square to t, then this is going to become like a circular cylinder where this x comma t is sitting on the top of the center point of the top center point of the C of x. This is called a closed circular cylinder. I would say whose radius is r and height is r square. Okay. So in this one, what we are going to claim, sir. So this is the one which you are going to use it in this theorem. That's why I have defined. So what we are going to do is that we are going to define. We are going to say like u belongs to C1 square of omega t, then u belongs to C infinity of omega t. So that's what we are going to do. Suppose you pick some x naught comma t naught in omega t. Okay, and then choose some r greater than 0 such that your circular cylinder is completely contained in omega t. Okay, then what you can say, so suppose this is my circular cylinder. Okay, this is my circular cylinder. I have C of, this is nothing but C. Then I'm going to define something like C1, C dash. Okay, C dash is going to, this is radius r. This is going to be r by 3. Okay, this is going, sorry, 3 by 4, 3 by 4 r. Okay, 3/4 of this radius. Whatever I have this one. And then I have one more cylinder. Okay, so that is going to become like half of this one. Okay, therefore this is going to be 3 by 4 and this is going to be smaller than this. Okay, like this. So like this I have I'm just defining 3 cylinder. Okay, now I am going to select a smooth function. Okay, I'm going to select a smooth function theta. The theta is satisfying this condition. Okay, the theta just choosing some smooth function, smooth cutoff function. I say what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use this to cut off some of the values so that is going to become like I'm just going to write the kernel in terms of this convolution between this zeta and the fundamental solution. Then from that, what I'm going to claim is that this u belongs to C. See, I am selecting my smooth function. Okay, theta is a smooth function. Therefore, that is infinitely differentiable. Now, if I choose my pi, which is nothing but the fundamental solution, that is also infinitely differentiable. So, if I take some convolution between them, okay, or just a product and integral between them, then what I am going to get is that I am going to get that this is going to become like infinitely differentiable. That's the sketch of the proof I am using. Okay. So you choose your theta in such a way that 0 less than theta less than 1. Okay, and theta equal to 1 on C dash completely. And theta is equal to 0 near the parabolic boundary of C. Okay, near the parabolic boundary. So C is the, near that you take some parabolic boundary. So that you are going to take completely 0. And you can extend this. Okay, you can extend this if it is theta equal to 0 somewhere. Suppose I take some parabolic boundary over here. So here if it is 0, what I am going to do is that I am just going to extend this for all Rn. Okay, Rn cross T 0 comma T naught. except that C. Okay, so that place I'm just going to take it. Okay, so now next one. So now what I'm going to define is that I'm going to define this kernel. This is my new kernel which I'm defining. We'll see like how do we apply this function k. Okay, so I'm just defining k of x comma y comma t of s equal to pi of x minus y comma t minus s, which is nothing but my fundamental solution, and I'm just taking the derivative of theta, okay, with respect to the time variable, okay, because theta of x comma t is there. I'm just taking the time derivative with respect to the, so here I'm just denoting s because I'm using the variable y comma s. So theta of s plus delta psi of y comma s. Okay, I'm just taking this theta, which I'm just combining with multiplying with my fundamental solution, and also I'm taking a derivative of the pi and a derivative of theta, and then I'm just multiplying it. So this is the one which I am taking. So from this one you can easily observe that fundamental solution, the fundamental solution is already infinitely differentiable. It is smooth, and theta is again smooth. Therefore, if I just take the product of these two, that is going to become like smooth again. Okay. Therefore, your k is going to become like smooth. Now, what I will define is that I will define that u of x comma t, okay, is going to become like, I'm just going to define k of x comma y comma t comma s into dy ds. Okay, so that's what I am going to define. And then you can claim that this is already infinitely differentiable. Okay, k is infinitely differentiable. Therefore, this is also going to become like infinitely differentiable. Therefore, u is going to become like c infinity function. Within that, c double bar. Okay, within this small neighborhood. Okay, that it is going to become. So also you can observe that theta equal to 1 on c dash. Okay, so we can just then from that we can claim that k is going to become like 0 for all weighting c particles. Okay, so how do we obtain the function k? That is the question we have to answer. Okay, that is the question we have to answer. If you answer that, then we are done. So for that, let us make the following assumption. Suppose u belongs to c infinity. Then what you can define, what we are going to define is that you are going to define your v of x comma t is going to become like v of x comma t into chi of theta of x comma t. Okay, that product I am going to take. Now you can find what is my vt. Okay, vt is going to become like, again you going to use the product rule. So ut into psi plus psi t into u is going to come. Okay, ut into psi, sorry, theta plus theta t into u is going to come. Okay, now you can take the delta v also. So if you take the delta v, again you are going to get u into delta psi is going to come. Okay, delta theta is going to come, plus you are going to get 2 times, okay, 2 times du d theta plus theta into delta v is going to come. Now if you find vt minus delta u, okay, if you find vt minus delta u, so you can see that if I just take theta common, then ut minus delta is going to come. For that point, that is going to become 0. Only this term is going to become, okay, theta t into u plus so I'll have u if I take it common, theta t plus delta theta, okay, plus 2d u into d theta. Du into d theta is going to come. Okay, so that's what I got. Now if I just do that, vt minus delta u. But you can observe that v is equal to 0 on Rn cross Rn cross t equal to 0 because your theta is going to vanish and vanish. Okay, so therefore we are going to get that. Now what we have delta t minus v, as I said, like this is going to become like theta t, so this is going to become like okay, here minus, okay, and here minus theta t minus, because I'm subtracting, so theta t minus delta psi minus 2d into d dot d theta is going to come. Now what we have, but what is this one? Okay, this is going to be like, I'm just going to define as this as catch bar. Okay, catch bar is going to be different. Then what you can, what we are going to set is that we are going to set some v bar. Okay, I'm just going to define a new function v bar. V bar is nothing but pi of x minus y, comma t minus s. Okay, t minus s into catch bar of y comma x into dy ds. Okay, this I just define. Then automatically you can just claim that this is going to satisfy. Okay, so if you can just check it from the previous lecture, like inhomogeneous problem. You might have seen like delta ut minus delta a equal to 0 and u equal to f is going to be satisfy this one. Therefore, from this one you can just claim that your v is going to satisfy this one. Okay, so in the inhomogeneous problem you might have seen that the same thing. So this v is going to satisfy this problem ut minus delta v bar equal to h bar, and v bar equal to 0 and the initial condition. So that is going to be there. Okay. But from the previous Cauchy value problem, what you can see is that if v and v bar is less than or equal to a for some constant a, then by the uniqueness theorem, what you can claim is that because it is going to be bounded. Okay, so from the uniqueness theorem, what you can claim is that your v, okay, whatever defined u, your v and v bar is going to become same. So in that case, this is also going to become okay, v equal to v bar equal to pi r x minus y t. Okay, so therefore, if x comma t belongs to C double dash, okay, as theta is 0 outside the string, that we have defined as per the definition. Therefore, what you can do is that you can just apply this one, okay, the theta ut to theta of x comma t. So this I'm just going to do, okay, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to apply this u, okay, because how do I define v is nothing but u of x comma t into theta of x comma t. Therefore, what you can do is that you can find your u is nothing but product of x minus y minus t minus s, okay, into h bar. What is h bar? H bar is nothing but u of theta t minus delta psi minus 2d into u into d is going to come. So that's what I'm going to get, okay, into y of, sorry, that's the one I got, okay, that's the one I got. I'm just multiplying this one, okay. So therefore, what you are going to get, it like okay, the theta of x comma t is 1 within that cylinder. That's the reason I'm just going to get u of x comma t and v of x comma t is going to become same. So v equal to v bar already we applied. Now v of x comma t equal to v of x comma t and into psi of x comma t is there, but psi of x comma t is already 1 within that cylinder. Okay, outside the cylinder it is becoming 0. Therefore, in that cylinder, what I'm going to get, this is going to become same. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just replacing h bar using this term u into theta t. So that's the only thing I'm just doing. Okay. Then what you can do, you can just use the integration by parts. Okay, if you use the integration by parts, then the second line will come where we are just going to use the so theta is extra is there. So I just use the second one. Okay, just integration by parts I'm going to use for the second integral. First integral and second integral is same. I'm just writing it two different integrals. Okay, the second one I'm just writing. Now you can use the integration by parts. If you use the integration by parts, I can just throw one derivative into the other. Then in that case, you will get your k of x comma y comma t coordinates is going to come. So that's what we have. Okay, that's it. Okay, so that is going to give me, that is the construction of our k of x comma y comma t coordinates. So in the case of Laplace equation, it was easy because you had only there is no time integral was there. Okay, therefore you had a kernel function as k of x comma y only. Whereas in the case of heat equation, two variables are already there. One is x and t. Okay, therefore what you have, four variables here. Again, this one I am just leaving it as a self-reading for you. Okay, the heat equation. Local estimate, you can just find the maximum over here. I have given the proof already, so you can just check it. What is it doing? Okay, this I am just leaving it as a self-reading value, and the next one also I'll just leave it as okay. So just 2 minutes, I'll just complete this one. Now what we have already proved that the uniqueness. Okay, from the maximum principle we have proved. Also the earlier one also we have proved the uniqueness one. Now we are going to prove the uniqueness theorem using the energy methods also. So we have to define the energy method here differently. Like if you remember what we defined the energy method in the Laplace equation. In the Laplace equation, we defined the energy method as, what was the energy method in Laplace equation? Half into TW square minus some WH. Okay, that's what we got defined for the energy methods in the Laplace equation. Okay, half into TW square minus half WH. So now here we are going to define it as we did in the Laplace equation. Here we are going to define the similar way, and then we are going to define the prove the uniqueness. So there also we have put the uniqueness using the energy method. Here also. So what we are going to do, we are going to define the energy over here again. Okay, so ERT I will define and then. So almost same kind of theorem what we do over the Laplace equation, same kind of theorem. So extra condition is that we have the time dependent is there. Therefore, you will have some conditions on the time portion. So there omega r power n is open and bounded, and dou omega is given. Almost same thing what we did in the Laplace equation. There was no time involved over there. Therefore, we have given that utmost one solution immediately over there. Here time is involved, so we have to define the time, terminal time t greater than UST. Then what this theorem is going to say, there is at most one solution. So if you are saying at most one solution, you can observe that either it is wave equation or heat equation or Laplace equation, we immediately define that U1, U2 be two solutions of the heat equation. Okay, or Laplace equation or wave equation. Same thing. Then I will define W is equal to U1 minus U2. Okay. Then what I have to claim? I have to claim that W equal to 0. That's the only thing I have to do. Now I have to define my, I'm just going to define some E of t. Okay, this E of t I will define, and then that is from that I'll just define that your E of t I'll just claim that it's going to become a 0. So some positive interval I will define. Okay, it is going to be called W. So I'll just define W square. Okay, W square dx, that is going to be my E of t. Okay, over omega. Then what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to prove that this E of t is going to be completely 0. Then I can just claim that W equal to 0. Okay. So U1, U2 is the solution of the heat equation. Therefore, U1t minus delta U1 is going to be h, and U1 equal to 0 in the domain and the boundary. Okay. Therefore, what is it going to come? W, okay, Wt minus delta W equal to 0. And W equal to 0. So this is in omega t and this is in gamma t. Okay, so this is going to be. Now I define E of t like this. Okay, then I'm just going to find what is my E dot of t. Okay, if I find what is my E dot of t, that is going to become like it is having two variables. Okay, x and t is there. I'm just differentiating only with respect to dx. Therefore, it will be a function of t. It will be a function of t. So E dot of t, I'm just going to find it. That is going to become like 2 times, okay, integral 2 times omega w into wt, okay, w into wt. But wt is nothing but delta w, okay, therefore 2 into w delta w dx is going to come. But delta w is nothing but I can just use the again I can just use the integration by parts, okay, and w equal to 0 on gamma t. Therefore, in the integration by parts, the boundary term will not be there, only the interior term will be there. So minus 2. So there will be a minus sign here. So minus 2 over omega dw into dw is going to come. Therefore, dw whole square dx is going to come. Okay. Therefore, E dot of t is equal to minus 2 tw square dx. But you see, tw square is always positive. Okay, this is never going to be negative. This is always positive, okay, because it is already positive. So minus sign is here. Therefore, this is going to be less than or equal to 0. Okay, this if it can become positive, this entire term can become positive only if this interval is going to become negative. But that is not going to happen. Therefore, this is going to be always less than or equal to 0. Therefore, E dot of t is less than or equal to 0. What is E dot of t? I have chosen some values 0 less than or equal to t less than or equal to t. Therefore, E dot of t I can just write it as E of t minus E of 0. Okay, if I just take this interval, E of 0 divided by t minus 0 is less than or equal to 0. Therefore, E of t minus E of 0 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, therefore E of t is less than or equal to 0. Okay, so E of t is less than or equal to 0, it is saying, but from this one you can already see that this is a positive integral because omega square is positive. Therefore, this is going to become like positive. Therefore, E of t is, I have simultaneously proved E of t is less than or equal to 0 and E of t is greater than or equal to 0. Therefore, E of t is completely 0. If E of t is completely 0, That means this integral is 0 means the integrand should be 0. Therefore, W square is going to become 0. If W square is 0, then W is completely 0. That's all. The proof is over. Also, you can prove the another thing called backward uniqueness. Backward uniqueness, what we are going to do is that suppose your
Sir,
heat constant, yeah, almost done. I'm going to,
sir,
yeah,
class, sir. We have class.
I'm done. You can take.
Okay, sir.
So for backward uniqueness, you have this one interpretation like this. Okay, if you have some distributions in the positive, then in the backward direction you can just claim. So this also I just leave this in self-reading. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If you have any doubts, you can ask me, or you can do. Okay, thank you.